Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Monday night live stream. We've had quite a busy chat build up to tonight. I was like, all these people are in all chatting already. I could be getting all my YouTube views up here, but no, you were all in from God knows what time. I think Mark was in about 8 o'clock, just making sure the test for the chat was working, and then it all kind of divulged into a big chat. So let's get in and see who we've got and say hello to a few people. So, as I mentioned, Mark in there nice and early at 8 o'clock for the test. Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the test. We've got Hal Martin in, who said he's set his reminder. Can't wait. Need my BlackJack legacy fix. Well, if you're still in the background there, Hal, welcome to the chat again tonight. I hope you're well, buddy. We've got Tolmard Greybeard. Said he's just sweeping up the place so it's tidy. Good evening, Tolmard. Hope you're well too. And we've got Rains coming as well. Said he missed a couple of the chats. Missed a couple of weeks in a row for the chat. You're here now, buddy, so welcome to the chat. We've got Broken Legion of Gamers in. Nice to have you in, Nick. Hope you're well too. We've then got Silver MKI, said he's queuing for the show as well. Tolmart's getting the coffee out. And Nick asked a question, which was, if any of you play Star Wars Legion, I'm torn between that and The Walking Dead All-Out War as the perfect entry-level game. Now, as tonight's topic is about getting new players started in the hobby, I guess it stemmed from a chat I had yesterday with Jason, my brother-in-law. Two of us went for a few beers on a Sunday afternoon, and we got chatting about how I introduced him into wargaming, and how he said it's actually quite difficult to find any information when you're new. And I guess it's been a long time since I was that new that I didn't know anything. So you kind of overlook a lot of stuff. And I guess you guys are all in the same boat as well, or you guys and girls, I should say. You're all in the same boat as well, that you've got some experience. So I thought, rather than have this chat about how to get into wargaming as a new player, I thought we'd kind of turn it slightly and talk about, from our experiences, how to get new players started into wargaming. So I'll answer that question for Nick. Between Star Wars Legion and The Walking Dead, my honest opinion is I think The Walking Dead is by far the best kind of gateway game or entry game. And the reason for that is I think that the miniatures are all single piece, so the hobby side of things can come at a later date. I think the fact that it plays on a smaller table size, so 20 inch by 20 inch, is a massive selling point. So you haven't got to have a lot of space at home. It means that you can kind of play it on a coffee table or the kitchen table or whatever. And I also think that the rules are straightforward enough and simple enough that it gives you the feel of a war game without getting bogged down too much by a lot of kind of synergistic, is that the right word? A lot of rules that are based upon synergies, if you like. So yeah, that's my opinion so far. So we'll scroll down a bit more. We've got Robert's in as well. Robert Zunk says he's waiting here in the car. Glad to have you along, Robert. We've got Silver MKI, that we just mentioned there, saying that he's only got The Walking Dead. He's not a fan of Star Wars, so he'll not be playing Legion unless forced. Interesting. We'll get more into that then, mate, and find out more. Tolmart has seen it tell us in the stream. I've told you now. I won't say what Silver MK. Well, actually, I will. He said that he just wants to gaze into my eyes. He wasn't aware I even talked about things too. We've got Bald Nerdian, said he's finally able to catch the live stream. The time difference makes it hard in the States. Good evening, buddy. Really glad you could join us for the live chat. Nice to have you with us. We've also got Flying Mammal in as well. Good evening, Flying Mammal. How are you? Hope you're well too. Robert says, sometimes has to do real life stuff. How very dare you do real life stuff and miss the chat. We've got Kyle in as well, so good evening. Good evening, Kyle. Hope you're well, mate. Are you getting on with a bit of hobby tonight? We've got Neil in as well. He said he classed himself as a bit of a newbie this year and bought a few games. Walking Dead was one of them, but he's still got the problem of who to play with, which has been a barrier. And I guess that also comes on to what we're going to chat about tonight. So getting other people interested in wargaming, so that if you don't have opponents now, you will certainly will have some after a period of time. We've got Mike in tonight as well. Good evening, Mike. I hope you're well, mate. Your kill team for what they call the death. Look, I want to say Death God there, but that's not right, is it? It's the Oh, my mind's gone blank. I've had a bit of a busy day today. Your Space Marine kill team. Death Watch, that was it. That's the word I'm looking for. Looking pretty fantastic, mate. Look forward to seeing them on the table. Silver's saying his local club is good, but not being able to go for about a year now. They've moved further away and work has gone mad. Yeah, unfortunately, that work has a habit of doing that, doesn't it? We've got Phil Wilkinson in as well. Says hello to everybody. Good evening, Phil. Flying Mabel says you're on 3 devices in our house. Is that how I get my YouTube views up now? I want you all to go away and switch every possible YouTube accessible device to the channel. Is that how it works? We've got Ian in as well. Says evening all. I'm not a policeman, by the way. Evening. We've got Glenn Griffin in as well. Evening, Glenn. I don't think we've chatted in the chat before, so welcome to the chat tonight. Hope you're well. He's saying Lord of the Rings was his gateway game back in 2001. There you go. Never played it, so we'll be relying on you for a bit of information about Lord of the Rings, buddy. Skullmunch is in. Good evening, Skullmunch. Hope you're well too. Mark says he agrees about The Walking Dead being easier to help a newbie into games, as you can play co-op as well as player versus player. Yeah, so I was very fortunate and quite lucky last night to be interviewed for a podcast. First time I've ever been interviewed. They asked me to come on and talk about sort of being a YouTuber. I hate that term, but about being on YouTube and kind of some of the games I play. And we chatted a little bit about The Walking Dead. I said I kind of thought it was probably the ultimate gateway game because you can play it solo, you can play it co-op, you can play it kind of player versus player. There's new expansions coming that introduce lots of scenarios and introduce bigger games. I just find it a really, really thematic, interesting game. To get new players in the hobby, really. We've Tolmart is saying Gaslands looks like it might be a good entry level game as well. Ian's agreeing with that as well. That's quite interesting because I guess Gaslands is almost a game for people that I guess you don't even have to have any kind of miniatures experience, really. You know, you're just either using Hot Wheels cars or sort of any cars you've got lying around. I suppose you can do the hobby side and paint them and kind of fill them full of guns, but you don't have to. Mike's just kicking me there and keeping me right with Death Watch. It's been one of them days, mate. I was up at crack of dawn this morning. It's been a long day. We got Gary Hollindale in. Says, sorry I'm late, fella. Perfectly on time, buddy. Thanks very much for joining us. Steve from I'll rephrase that again. Steve from Steve's Small World is in. Said he's running a little bit late as he's working. I'll try and keep the noise down, mate, so you don't get found out at work. Mark is saying he started his newbie group at work on party games like Ultimate Werewolf and Avalon. Got them into board games like Zombicide and pushing Dread Bull. The Walking Dead is next in line. That's the way to do it, mate. Start with the kind of the entry point and gradually build up to it. And Glenn says, why? I'm not sure why. Silver is saying, Zombicide's the game my wife and I play when we have lots of people over, as you can play pretty much any number of survivors and just throw zombies in as you need them. I've still never played Zombicide. I should really pick it up at some point. I keep talking about it, but there's always just so much stuff, isn't there? Throatsaw's in. Good evening, Throatsaw. I hope you're well too, buddy. So he played his first game of Gaslands recently. I love the cheap entry price. The only thing that's kind of not put me off Gaslands, but has been a bit of a stumbling block getting started, is I just never got round to printing off all of the tokens and the templates and things like that. I guess if I could have just walked into a shop and picked some up, that might have been different. But and I know a lot of people now make them online, so I should just order some. But I just never really got round to it, I suppose. Throatsaw says good evening as well. Glenn says, yeah, I watch your channel videos, like the 5 rules you're getting wrong videos. Sometimes hard to watch the live streams with real life stuff. And why was a mistype? Don't worry, man. Yeah, live streams every Monday, as you all know now, 9 o'clock till 10:30 UK time. And it's kind of just the idea behind them is just to have a bit of a chat, get everybody together, get you folks all chatting in the chat as well, talk about some new games that maybe you haven't played before, some games that maybe don't always get as much attention as they deserve. Maybe some really good games out there that some of the kind of the new shiny stuff seems to steal the limelight. So, yeah, we just talk about bits of random stuff, really. Silver saying you can come over and play a Zombicide here. Have all the expansions, so take your pick. Whereabouts are you, Silver? I've got in my head. No, maybe I'm getting you mixed up with somebody else. I had it in my head you were in Australia, but I think I'm thinking of somebody else, buddy. You have to keep me right. Tell me whereabouts you are. So, folks, yeah. So that was the point of tonight's topic tonight. Sure, we'll be chatting about lots of other things as well. We got Rogue Trader getting is on pre-order this weekend, just gone, coming out next week. What do you think of that? I know, Mike, I assume you're all over that one, mate. I'll be honest, I think I'm going to give it a miss. Maybe that's a bit of a controversial thing, but we'll maybe get on and chat about that later on. I might be able to talk about some of the stuff that I'm working on at the moment. Some of it is super secret, and I can't talk about that, but I can probably talk about the other bits and pieces I've been working on. And I guess we'll also get into the chat as well once how long we've been going, about 10 minutes or so. We'll give it a quarter past, and then we'll get into the chat about the topic as well. So what have you folks been up to? What you doing tonight? Are you all painting in the background? Are you just sitting chilling with a coffee? What's your Monday night looking like? So Robert is saying, yeah, his wife says she's going to play Hayes Negan when it arrives. Maybe I can get her into All Out War. I think there's a few people are probably going to use that as a bit of a kind of a launching point. Certainly from a lot of board gamers maybe who haven't quite took the step across into miniatures games. I think Hayes Negan's going to be another good entry point. And I think for anyone that's still kind of on the fence as to whether they want to get into Walking Dead, the board game nature of Hayes Negan is a really good entry. So, Gary says Warhammer Quests are a good entry games. Would I agree with that, Gary? Would I agree with that? I think what puts a lot of people off from Warhammer Quest, and I'm assuming you mean in like sort of Silver Tower, that kind of Warhammer Quest, is just the amount of stuff that you get in the box. There's quite a lot of cardboard tokens and tiles. The rules are maybe, whilst they're pretty straightforward, the nature of having to kind of flick backwards and forwards through the rules, almost like a kind of choose your own adventure, can be a little bit daunting, I guess, for new players. And there's so many miniatures in there that you have to build up. That can potentially be a bit of a barrier. I think some of the games that have single-piece miniatures are potentially an easier entry point. Because we have to think about this. This is not people so much that are necessarily fully aware of kind of Games Workshop and of Warhammer and that kind of things. These are people that probably didn't even know this kind of hobby existed, to be fair. Those are the kind of people I think we're trying to target when we're trying to get new people into our hobby. So Nick is saying, when are you going to let us know about this super secret hobby project you've got going on? I'll be honest, Nick. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks. I think it's going to be in early October. And there is a reason for that. I can't tell you what the reason is, because obviously then that would give away some of why I can't do it. But I think it's going to be into early October before you find out a bit more about that. Silver is in Buckinghamshire, almost as many beaches though. Okay, maybe not. I don't know why I had it in my head that you were from Australia, mate. I don't know if I'm just mixing you up with another channel. You were certainly one of the first people I remember commenting on any of my videos, and there was somebody else. It might be, is it Left-Handed Panzerfaust, I think, as well, Dave as well. He's from Australia. Maybe that's who I'm getting mixed up with, because the two of you kind of started commenting around that first kind of 100 videos, the 100 subscriber mark, I think. We've got Gary is saying, have you seen the Hunters expansion for The Walking Dead? Yes, I have. Am I going to buy it? Most certainly. As I mentioned on last week's live stream, I'm going to be going to the Walking Dead tournament, Winter's End, in December, which is at Element Games in Manchester. So I'll probably be picking these up for a few extra bits to have a look at the cards and stuff, and see if I can boost out my little my team for the event. Kyle says he's painting his Order Draconis, and he's also got his Silver Tower stuff on the go as well. So you've got your hands full with that, mate. How are you doing with Silver Tower? Are you kind of doing it in any particular order? Are you just painting the models you like the best first? It's normally not a bad way to get through them. Gary's saying he's going to be playing D&D with some fellas around the world tonight and paint some Walking Dead whilst they do. That's multitasking at its finest. Kyle says he's got Andy's Audible chocolate on in the background. Audible chocolate? So, so I've got oh, who was it again? I've got Silver there staring into my eyes. I've got Kyle with the audible chocolate. I've got a real mix in the night. Throat Sauce says, tonight I've painted a horror and a big monstery walker for Dead Zone. Now I have a rubber LARP sword in my hand. I think what you do with your rubber LARP swords, we better just keep to ourselves, mate. Silver saying he's trying not to fall asleep due to early start, not your live stream. I'll forgive you, mate. I've had an early start this morning as well. You can probably tell by the bags under the eyes. Glenn is saying he's sitting chilling. He wants to paint some more of his Orc Blood Bowl team, but find the lighting in the evening time makes it difficult to get painting versus natural light. Yeah, definitely having a painting lamp with a daylight bulb in makes a huge difference in the evenings. It definitely does. Bill saying Warhammer 40,000 Conquest could be a good way to start. I've ordered mine. I've not seen one yet. I must admit, I've looked at a couple of places to try and see if I can pick one up when I've been wandering around. Even just for the paints, to be honest, I'm running a bit short on a bad and black paint, so it's worth it just for that. But I've not actually seen it anywhere yet. But I've seen that some places have definitely, or some people I think have had up to issue 3 now. So it's starting for the subscriptions. It's starting to get shipped out. Skull Munch is saying really in the middle of a strategy game at the minute. Quite a few rules, but I can see it being a good gateway game as the rules make sense and you can easily add rules as you go through thematic scenarios. I think anything that has where the theme grabs you, so things like Walking Dead, like Lord of the Rings, definitely a good entry point for non-gamers, if you like, because they're already kind of, if they're not invested in it from a kind of like they love the film or whatever, at least they're aware of what it is and they get an idea about kind of what's the basic premise of what I'm trying to do here, what am I trying to do. Silver saying Dungeon Saga is similar to Silver Tower, but all single piece. I think the rules are quite complex though, being a while since I've played it. I've not played Dungeon Saga, so I'm not sure how complex the rules are. I do tend to like Mantic Games rule sets because they tend not to be overly complex. But I must admit I've not played Dungeon Saga, so I couldn't really comment. Ian is saying, I bet the super secret stuff is a life-sized anti-sex doll. Nobody needs that in their life, mate. Honestly, nobody needs that. I promise you. Bald Nerdy says, love the simplicity of Walking Dead. Really easy to get into and full of hobby as you feel ready. I would completely agree, buddy. That's kind of where I am. You can quite happily leave everything grey plastic if you wanted to. The miniatures are really kind of detailed, so you can tell which is which. And if you feel comfortable getting started, try a bit painting with some of the walkers. If you make a bit of a balls up of it, they're dead zombies anyway. Do you know what I mean? So how bad can they look? Throat Saw says, "Hang on." I better hang on then. I'll just wait. We've got Art Wilson in as well. Good evening, Art. I hope you're well, buddy. We've got Rich in as well. Good evening, Rich. I saw your brother today, mate. We were doing a bit of a tour today. We had some customers on site, and we were doing a tour around the factory, and bumped into your brother today. So it's the first time I've actually met him. But yeah, he's your spitting double, mate. I'm not sure if you will see that as a blessing there, but yeah, he's your spitting double. Bald Nerdy said went from 0 to painting and playing regularly. That's kind of what I did, actually. I went from doing nothing to just painting, and I got into gaming almost from the painting side. Certainly coming in like later anyway. Throat Saw says, BlackJack Geary from Lost Fleet. BlackJack Geary from Lost Fleet? I have no idea what that is, mate. Maybe I've missed something in the conversation, but I don't know what that is. Mark is saying to Ian, that's no secret. I like that face. You'll have to tell me how you do that face on there. I quite like that. Silver says, yeah, started watching around when you did the 3-up giveaway. Yeah, that's right. Panzer Kaput won that one. The Mantic 3-up. Nick says, it's Orcs, isn't it? I'll give you the clue, mate. It's not Orcs. No, it's not Orcs. We've got Tony in, said evening all. Good evening, Tony, mate. Hope you're well. We've got Kevin from Rage Against the Dice. Good evening, Kev, as well. Rich is saying Kyle is on the filth bandwagon with his Order Draconis. I think he might have to do some Nurgle next after being blessed with shingles and being poorly last couple of weeks. I forgot you'd not been well, mate. how are you feeling now? Are you on the mend anyway? Are you feeling a bit back to your normal self? Mark says, no, you can't say much, but did you enjoy your time at Riverhorse? I can probably talk a bit more about it now, to be fair, because Riverhorse themselves have announced that the Kickstarter for Hunger Games is coming soon. So that was why I was, as you'll have seen, if you've seen my most recent video, is my interview with Alessio Cavatori about his company, Riverhorse, and what they've been up to recently and what they've got planned for the future. So I went down to Riverhorse in Nottingham, going back probably a month or so ago now, just before holidays, was it maybe? And I filmed 3 videos while I was there. I did one, which was the interview with Alessio, which you'll have seen. I then did an interview with Jack Caesar, who is the designer of the Hunger Games board game, or the Hunger Games game, I suppose. So we had a chat with him, and then I also had a playthrough video where I had a playthrough of the game, the Hunger Games Mockingjay. So for anybody that is kind of interested in it, I appreciate the kind of the Hunger Games as a title or as a license, I suppose, probably seems a bit of a strange one. But what I would say is kind of don't think of it like that. When you get to see the video, because my video will probably go live around the day of the Kickstarter going live as well. I think it's going to be shared on their Kickstarter page. Watch the playthrough, because the game itself is really reminiscent of kind of Axis and Allies, Fortress America, those kind of strategic games. And instead of having different countries that you're kind of invading and stuff, it's the 12 districts from around Panem. And it's quite interesting the way that the theme of the game is reflected. So where we're up to, yeah, and to answer your question, Mark, yeah, I had a really good day, thanks. Everyone there was really friendly, really kind of nice bunch of folks that I would love to go back and see again at some point. Phil says you can order Conquest online. I guess I don't want to really be spending kind of £30 a month on miniatures that I already have for Warhammer 40,000. So I've got the Dark Imperium box set, and I think for at least certainly for the early part of that subscription service, it's pretty much stuff I already have. So I'll probably just not get around to using them. It feels like a good idea, and I think anybody wanting to get into 40k, it'll be a really good entry point. But for me, it's just not what I need right now, I think. Art says, evening all, I started with Space Hulk back in 89. Nowadays, I'd recommend Song of Blades and Heroes, or one of its spin-off rule sets. You only need a few miniatures and a small playing area. First of all, good evening, Art. The other side is, I think the problem is with games that maybe are kind of miniatures agnostic. So that means basically they don't have their own miniatures. You can buy miniatures from anywhere. Whilst that should feel like a really easy entry point, that you just get this rule set and then you can buy any miniatures you want. I think as a complete beginner to wargaming, that's quite daunting, because you don't really know what you're buying. You don't know where to go looking for it. You don't know whether you're buying the right things. I think to actually buy a core set or a game that has as a starter set is a much easier entry point. So it might be a cheaper way to do it than the one you're suggesting, but I think it's quite kind of, it can be a little bit daunting when the choice is so wide. Silverstein's got all the Dungeon Saga expansions too, so you're welcome to give them a go. I think I'm gonna have to make a weekend of it, mate. You got plenty of stuff to be playing. And he says, yes, I have Impulse Kickstarter syndrome. That makes 2 of us, buddy. Skull Muncher saying GW call them orcs now. Yeah. I still kind of can't get my head around why they did that with a load of stuff. Like, what's the point? There's no problem in calling them orcs. You know what I mean? Everybody calls them orcs. We've got Flip Movie Maker in, says, hello, good evening, Flip. Hope you're well. We've got Kieran in as well. Did I miss Kieran? Did I miss saying hello to you? I'm sure I saw your name earlier on. Good evening, Kieran. Hope you're well, buddy. He said he's not played Dungeon Saga. Yes. Sad face. Rules are actually quite simple, hence why I got into it. It's a good experience, even got my brother back into playing games and scratched the Hero Quest nostalgia itch. That's kind of what I mean. That's what I mean about buying a box set that is kind of self-contained. Yes, there's expansions and stuff, but it becomes kind of an easy entry point. It's almost, you open the box and you've got everything you need to play. Because I think miniature gaming, because it is so much, I'll just buy this extra unit and I'll buy this miniatures and I'll buy that miniatures. the way The Walking Dead and obviously the way Dungeon Saga was, with the expansions or with the different waves of releases, it actually makes it a relatively easy understand of I've got everything I need now. What else is available, and it's kind of in waves to pick it up. We've got Buzzer in from Underdog Painting says, "Hey ladder, hello Buzzer, how you doing, mate?" Rain says, "I ordered the new Fallout Wasteland Warfare. Really tempted by the Middle Earth strategy battle game and the Kill Team Rogue Trader. Money flying out of my pocket." Yeah, there's especially Games Workshop stuff at the minute. It is so kind of relentless that the amount of stuff that they're throwing at us at the minute. I think it's one of the reasons why I'm going to give Rogue Trader a bit of a wide berth. The style's not necessarily my particular kind of favorite style, and I feel like I'm still kind of working my way through my Kill Team stuff at the minute. I've bought a few of the expansions, the kind of the kill zones and things, and it just feels like something else that I would buy because of the impulse to probably not spend enough time on it. And I have heard it's potentially like a limited release, but I think it's something I've got to kind of tone back really. And will I really? There's no really particularly nice terrain in it that I'm kind of desperate to have. I think I'll probably just give this one a miss and maybe see how it pans out later if it's still available. We've got Andy's in from Peninsula Painting Project. Good evening, Andy. He says, "Hello, mate. Hope I can stay tuned in as I'm working." Right, well, if you don't manage to, mate, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much. Robert's saying Star Saga by Mantic is alright kind of Dungeon Saga, but a bit easier as far as the rules go. Yeah, I think that's that Warpath, the sci-fi version of Dungeon Saga, isn't it? Silver says, interested in Hunger Games. Could be fun. Yeah, one thing I did ask them about was sort of why was it set in the Mockingjay one? I thought with things like Fortnite and PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, PUBG, all that kind of stuff, that kind of Hunger Games-esque feeling of the first couple of stories might have been an interesting kind of game to set interesting theme to set the game. But I think there were some issues around licensing that they didn't want a game where basically kids were killing each other kind of thing. So it's set in the third story or the third and fourth films. If you're only aware of the films, it's set at that end where basically the resistance are trying to kind of wrestle control back from the capital, and that's why it's that very kind of strategic game amongst the different districts. I couldn't think of the word there. Let's have a look. Hal is saying, "Good day, Andy. Hope all is well, mate." It's very well, thanks, Hal. Really appreciate you coming in. Throat Sauce says, "Hunger Games sounds interesting. How many factions could there be?" It's just a board game, so there is just there is the Resistance, and then there is the Capital. So it's just a kind of a two-sided board game. You can play with multiple players, but it'll just be you can kind of team up, I guess. But I hope I'm not chatting too much about it. I think some of that's already been. Maybe the details haven't been announced, but certainly there's been some images of the miniatures and stuff have been released on the Facebook group for River Horse Games in the last few days. Tony is saying he started out a couple of years ago as a board gamer, and games like dungeon crawlers, like Dungeon Saga, helped me pay more attention to games like Walking Dead. Started painting at the same time. Yeah, so I guess. Had you been into games kind of prior to that as well then, or was that almost your first entry point? Flying Mammal is asking Bold Nerdy, what's your favourite game you've played so far? Silver is saying, okay, less interest in Hunger Games when it's a faction war rather than skirmish. Yeah, it's just a board game, mate. It's not a miniatures game in terms of like kind of not like Fallout, if you like. It's definitely just a strategic board game. Kyle is saying, using Conquest to build his painting skills by taking things back to basics. That's a really good idea, Kyle, because I know you're just getting started with 40k as well. So be able to kind of almost pace yourself as those miniatures come through is not a bad way to do it, actually, mate. How are you finding them anyway? Are you enjoying painting them up? Did you settle on a faction yet? Because I know you were toying between Salamanders and Dark Angels. Rich says, are you planning a trip to see Needy Cat Games and Bad Squiddo Games? Now they have their new offices right next to each other. It's funny you say that, actually, because James did mention to me about going back down and maybe doing a follow-up video to Hellboy now that things are a bit more polished and things have changed a little bit further down the line. So I was planning to go down at some point and do a follow-up video. And Annie from Bad Squiddo Games actually just followed me on Twitter the other day, randomly. I'd not spoken to her. So who knows, mate? If I'm going to make the trip, it's always worth popping in to see any of the neighbours down there as well. Silver says, I agree that having a boxed game is a lot easier than rules on their own as a starter. Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's just that starting point, isn't it? It's kind of. I've got everything I need to just play, so I haven't got to really think about what do I need, I suppose. It's something that Fantasy Flight Games do really well, that kind of core box where there's enough in there to play, but it's not quite the full game, so I need to buy a little bit more. They do that frustratingly as a kind of a gamer, that you have to buy more stuff once you get into it, but I think that's because their games are so good that you want to buy more stuff. Bold and Nerdy is saying to Flying Mammal that Walking Dead's a favourite game right now. Simple enough, I can play with my younger boys and teach to friends in very little time. How do you find your boys finding it, Bold and Nerdy? Are they quite into it? Are they aware of The Walking Dead, or are they purely into it through the game and through yourself? Tolmart is saying Kill Team or Walking Dead. Is that a question, Tolmart, or do you think the Kill Team or Walking Dead are two good entry points? Throatsaw is saying Star Saga all in one box, and you end up with a complete strike team for Dead Zone 2. I know. Do you know what it is? When I was at the UK Games Expo, I think it was Troll Trader was selling Star Saga for 25 quid. They obviously had a lot of them, and they were trying to get their stock down. And was it 30 quid it might have been. And I kind of hummed and hawed about picking it up, and I still to this day don't know why I didn't get it. I think it was because I was looking for something to play that night with my son Sam, and he was like, "Oh, it's not my kind of thing." So I think that was why I didn't pick it up. But I kind of kick myself every time thinking about it now. Why did I not pick that up? Gary says, Andy, will you be getting Lord of the Rings stuff? Can't remember if you said yes or no. Gary, probably not, mate. Although, to be fair, Gary's got a blog that he started not too long ago, and I was reading your review of it and stuff, which was excellent. And it did kind of make me think, oh, maybe should I give it a go? But to be honest, I've got that much on my plate at the minute with Kill Team and my Kings of War stuff that I've just started as well. So I've just started my Kings of War army, of which Tony in the chat there tonight very, very graciously sent me a 2-player starter set for Kings of War with dwarfs and undead in there as well. So I'm really appreciate that. Thank you very much, mate. It is much appreciated. So yeah, I'm going to be starting my first Kings of War army. I've still got my Kill Team stuff on the go. I've got my secret project that I can't talk about yet. And I've got Kickstarters coming, getting delivered this year. So in November, I've got Resident Evil 2 coming. Not long behind that one, probably in the early part of next year. I've got Batman, Gotham City Chronicles coming. Hellboy won't be too far behind it. So I guess I'm trying to pace myself a little bit with stuff that I'm maybe on the fence about. We've got Buzzer saying he's had a shite week, fella. My baby lad's been in hospital with meningitis. Oh, bloody hell, mate. I hope everything's okay. Has it just been is he on the mend? Has he got to stay in for a while? Really sorry to hear that, mate. Bald is saying really excited for Hellboy. It's actually what got me into it again. Been a huge Hellboy fan, and then I found all this cool Walking Dead stuff. Yeah, I was really lucky to be invited down by James to the play testing when they first started working on the game, and it's the first time I've done any play testing before, and it was really interesting to see that how a game looks at those early stages. And within a few weeks, I'd gone back down to film a playthrough video ready for the Kickstarter, and it's amazing how much he'd kind of changed the game in that short space of time. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it stepped on again. James said it's fantastic, and he's quite a kind of quite a humble person. He wouldn't be saying it was fantastic if he didn't really believe that. So I'm really looking forward to trying it. The miniatures, as we all know, look beautiful. I think it's going to be a really good game now. Throatsaw says, couldn't keep up with all the different games GW are releasing. I'd need another mortgage. Yeah, I think I'd need 2 more jobs as well just to keep on top of it. It's I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but it is just relentless. I don't know whether they're trying to kind of sort of just, I don't want to say the word cash grab, but Are they trying to just have a really good kind of financial year? They're really spreading their wings. Maybe they're trying to ride this kind of resurgence in the hobby for a bit, or for all it's worth, until things die off. They're starting to branch out into sort of using their IP license elsewhere. They're into sort of trying to get younger people into younger people in the hobby through the younger books, the Warhammer Adventures. They're looking into these kind of board game things like the Space Marine adventure game that's going to be sold kind of in bookstores. They're really kind of spreading things out, but it's just a relentless amount of stuff with the games. If you're a really kind of heavy 40k player or Age of Sigmar player, it's a hell of a lot of stuff. I must say I am really interested in their kind of their Warhammer Quest 40k version that's coming out soon. I'll be keeping a close eye on that one, because it was I love the 40k setting, and I love Warhammer kind of Quest games as well, so that'll be one to watch, I think. Skullmunch is saying to Rain, get Middle-earth strategy battle game. It's awesome. Bold and Nerdy is saying there's not a lot of Mantic game presence around me, unfortunately, so I found it through BlackJack's videos. It's interesting because, I mean, I think people assume Mantic are a big company because of the amount of stuff that they got out there, but they're still relatively small in kind of size of like their staff and that kind of thing. But some of their games really are fantastic. I really do like their games. I like the people that work for the company. They're very approachable, and it would be good to get those kind of games out there to a wider audience. Really, it's a shame there's not more kind of coverage for them. Tolmart is saying sorry to hear that, Underdog, as well. Yeah, I hope everything's okay, buddy. I've just read a bit further down there. You're saying, yeah, he's home. He's been pulling my hair out. I'm glad he's on the mend. I'm sure that you don't mind the stress of that rather than the stress of being in hospital, mate. Glenn is saying, relentless is a perfect word to describe GW's releases these days. My bank account can't take much more. How does everyone feel about that? Do you think it's too much? Do you think that it's too much too often? Do you think it's too much too often for the same kind of audience? So, for example, anybody into Kill Team has took a real kind of hammering at the minute recently. If you're wanting to keep up with Kill Team, there's not been much released from an AOS point of view recently, as far as I'm aware, anyway. So maybe are the AOS guys all like wanting something new? Was it? I know it looks like there's going to be a new army coming soon for AOS. 40k guys, are you waiting for some stuff to spend your money on? Are you waiting for October? What are you waiting for? But certainly from a kind of I guess maybe I'm just not as close to the 40k stuff, and I haven't seen what else they've been releasing as well. Let me know what you're waiting for, because I think Chaos Space Marines is not far away. I think probably the end of this year as well. Let's have a look. Let's just jump around the chat a little bit. Artist saying he's seen a few reviews of Space Marine Adventures today. Look quite good. Not as basic as I thought it would be. Could be good for a complete beginner. Yeah, I can't remember if it was you, Art, or somebody else certainly mentioned in the Facebook group tonight that they watched a review of it, and it definitely wasn't as basic as they were expecting. Silver is saying GW's release schedule puts me off, as well as their other practices of the last few years. It's too hard to keep up. Yeah, there's two sides to it for me. So one side, purely as a gamer, their release schedule is really, really hard to keep on top of. You feel like you're constantly shelling out. You've not painted what you've got, but you feel if you don't get involved when it's out, you kind of miss the boat a little bit. It's a really weird kind of experience, that. And then the other side of it is from a YouTube perspective, you do get kind of, if you do GW focused videos, they do get a few more views. But it's quite frustrating that they send a lot of their product out to other YouTube channels. So there's always a number of channels get all of their stuff early before everybody else gets to see it. And then what that means is by the time you get your hands on it, you've got to really come up with something a bit different to make videos on. Hence why I make videos about kind of 6 rules people get wrong, rather than just doing kind of unboxings or playthroughs or that kind of thing. You've really got to kind of come up with some new ideas. And it's a bit of a shame, really, that it's you don't mind it so much if it's 1 or 2 bigger channels, but they actually send it out to quite a few people now. But unfortunately, I'm nowhere near big enough yet. Maybe one day they'll send me something. What we got? Underdog Bazza saying, yeah, he's been pulling her hair out. Michael saying, holy cow, almost forgot to tune in. You mean you haven't set a reminder, Michael? I thought you would have had a Monday night alarm, mate. Buzzer saying, yeah, he's smashing it. That's good, mate. Kyle saying, no, I hate painting Probs Ultramarines. I'm trying to think about the question. Oh, I was asking you about your about which army you were going to go for. Yeah, so you've gone for probably Ultramarines. I must admit, I started painting Ultramarines for my Kill Team one because I just wanted to kind of go back to basics. Really, just to I really like the blue of the Ultramarines. It's really nice colours. Michael's back again. Tony says he's dabbled a bit years ago when he was about 14, 15 with a couple of games of D&D. Games always caught my attention from a distance. As the kids got older, a bit more time to try a few and got hooked. Yeah, I think I've mentioned it a couple of times on different live streams. It was when my twins were kind of maybe, let's think, when were they? They were probably about 2 or 3 or something like that. And I was just looking for a hobby, and I just picked up some Space Marines to paint after walking past the Games Workshop. Didn't even realise kind of just the amount of miniatures games that were out there till much later. Bold Nerdy saying there, just into the game, I play with my 8-year-old and the other Walking Dead content is a little too much for him yet. Yeah, you're not wrong. Even the comic books are quite graphic and quite gruesome, aren't they? Tolmart saying, wondering what one is the best entry game, Walking Dead or Kill Team? I would honestly, I think I would still err on Walking Dead if I'm honest. I just think it's the theme is a little bit more accessible. I think the theme for Warhammer, it's almost there's too much to buy if you like. So if you buy the Kill Team box, there is definitely some hobby involved. It's not the quick, easy fit miniatures or anything like that. There's no single piece miniatures in there. The terrain takes a bit of building as well. For all it looks fantastic, Kill Team for me is a really good entry point to 40k, to the 40k universe. And I think if you're a hobbyist, you'll really enjoy what's in the box, like most of us, to be fair. But for an absolute new player, never played a miniatures game before, I still think Walking Dead is the better entry point. Bold Nerdy says, really like playing with my oldest because I can see him learning to think critically and learn every time. It's nice, isn't it? You can kind of see the cogs ticking over in the background. It really does make kids think about decisions and consequences, I guess. It's really good. There's a hell of a lot of chatting tonight as well. I just jumped up there. Throw sauce saying, to the gent with the child that's been unwell. That's Bazza. Thoughts with you, and I hope the little one's okay. Robert is saying as well, prayers with you and your child and family too. So everyone sending their love, Bazza. Mark saying he played Hellboy a few weeks ago and loved the gameplay. Flowed well, thematic, really great fun. Can't wait for my copy. Yeah, I forgot you'd been lucky enough to go down and have a little go at it, hadn't you? So yeah, I'm glad to hear you enjoyed it, Mark. Nick is saying X-Wing, another solid option as a jumping in point, especially with the painted minis. Yeah, I think X-Wing. So X-Wing with pre-built, pre-painted miniatures and the Star Wars theme, I think definitely kickstarted a lot of people into gaming again. I certainly picked up X-Wing as a game to play really alongside other stuff. So while I was painting miniatures for whatever game I played at a time, it meant I had something to play. And me and my son used to play quite a bit of X-Wing. I'm really tempted to kind of pick up some stuff for 2.0 when it comes out as well. I'll probably pick up a starter box just as a bit of a side game. I don't want to get in too heavily, but it's quite nice to have a little something to play kind of on a weekend with the kids when it's something a bit more up their alley, if you like. Wow. The chat's moving fast tonight, gents and ladies. Ian says, walked away from GW years ago. Games too unbalanced. Bringing out new expansions. Swing balance the other way, but you had to buy to keep up. But still buy their figures from time to time. It's interesting. So yeah, like I said, me and Jason were sitting having a few beers yesterday, which is what prompted tonight's topic. And he said that the rules to the game was less important when getting somebody started for the first time. So he wasn't attracted by the rules of the game, regardless of how easy or how difficult the game was. He was more attracted by the look of the game. So the fact that the miniatures were nice, the fact that you could get all these kind of 3D buildings, and he wasn't that interested in the fact that it was that if we just kind of used the paper mats and a few bits of cardboard, that to him wasn't that engaging. But the fact that we had some kind of 3D terrain and the cars, like the smashed up cars, and a board and things like that. He found that really immersive, and he was kind of sucked in. So it's interesting. Like Games Workshop have always been that kind of miniatures company who happen to make games rather than a games company with miniatures. It did make me think about that kind of comment yesterday when Jason was saying that. Throat Saucy and Mantic are still little, but you can rock up, talk to the people there, and feel you're being listened to. Yeah, and to be fair, I think they're probably about 10-year-old now, and they're not a tiny company. They must have a decent turnover now with the amount of games they put out. But they are still very much, they've kept to their kind of ethos of being a community focused company, and they've certainly grown through community involvement, and it's something that they haven't really kind of forgotten about as they've grown. Mark says, Robert is saying he didn't realise, but you're looking around, he's got 6 games by Mantic. I'm just looking on my shelves now, yeah, and it's amazing just how many how many games I've got by them. Mark says, Throatsaw, some of the GW ideas are great, but perhaps they need just a little more time to make each system really amazingly good. Do I agree with that comment? I think they never strive for perfection. I think there's a kind of a saying that continuous improvement is much better than kind of never ever having perfection. Excuse me, my throat's a bit dry there. Oh, excuse me. And that I think almost frog in my throat there. I think almost they almost never really want to perfect it, because then that doesn't give them anywhere to go. They're constantly kind of trying to improve things and change things and rebalance things and release new figures and new armies and new stat lines. I think it's almost that's what makes it something that people keep buying, is because it's never perfect, or it's never completely right balanced. Oh, my throat went really dry there. Sorry about that, guys. Where we're up to here. Mark saying Underworlds is ramping up again with Night Vault coming next month. Yeah, that'll be another one as well. Something else to spend money on. So you're going to have Night Vaults, Underworlds coming the same month as all the Orc stuff's coming out for 40k as well. Skullmunch is saying shout out to Warhammer Underworlds for being a great gateway game. Good shout, actually. I forgot about that. An awesome streamlined board game, and still allows players to build, paint, and collect some miniatures. Yeah, I mean, I think had they been single piece miniatures, because they are kind of single pose miniatures, if you like. Had they been single piece and ready made, I think it would have been kind of a double thumbs up. I would say that the theme, you still kind of have to have some knowledge of Age of Sigmar to kind of understand what's going on from a theme perspective. However, it is still a good entry point. You get the board in that core set, 2 war bands, all the tokens, all the cards. So yeah, from an entry point, from a new player, it is a good entry point. That's why it always baffles me that the Warhammer stores don't sell it. It's only ever online or in independent stores. Neil is saying, not only is it too much too often from GW, but they don't put on a timescale on how long games will be available, which again forces people to buy now. Yeah, that's definitely something I've been hearing about Rogue Trader, is that it's kind of a limited release. And that was one of the other reasons why I decided, no, I'm not getting swept up in the kind of in the hype for it. It's the setting. Looking at the board, it looks very Necromunda from the Necromunda box that I've still not really spent that much time with. And I'm quite happy with what I've got for Kill Team. I think I'm starting to get to a point now where I've got a little bit more self-control, I think. I've got enough stuff going on that I don't need to kind of buy into the hype, I think, so much these days. Where are we going here? Why, it is going crash tonight. Buzzer is saying, I think he just on the button. It's not everyone playing full army and one quick games. We're going to be doing Thousand Suns, and I think we're going to enter Golden Demon and paint Magnus. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you do with that, mate. Are you always your painting's always top notch, so it'll be good to see what you do with that. Silver saying, looking forward to the hassle-free Halloween sale to get more awesome models they released this year. Not got any games to pick up at the minute. Do they always have a Halloween sale, mate? Do they? I've often seen hassle-free stuff when I've been to kind of game shows and stuff like that, but I'm not as close to them to know if that's like their big sale every year. Tony is saying, I approach GW stuff with caution. There has to be support for the game locally for me because there's some expensive plastic just to sit on the shelf at the game Middle Earth though. I think one thing you'll find is that with Games Workshop stuff is there tends to be kind of a lot of people that play it, or there's certainly a decent sized audience. But you're right though, you pay a premium for it, so you have to make sure you get your money's worth out of it, whether that's just painting it for the enjoyment or whether it's kind of getting some games in with it as well. Mark's asking, Silver, do you play Dreadball? Does anyone on here play it? You know what it is? I had a game of it last week, actually. I'd not played in a little while and kind of broke it out and had a game. Really, another fantastic Mantic game, to be fair. Simple rules, dead easy, everything you need's in the box set again. But it's definitely feels more of a board game than a war game because of its kind of sports orientated type thing. But it's definitely a kind of a gateway from board gamers into miniature gaming as well. But yeah, great game. We're Throat Sauce saying, not big enough. You are indeed, mighty sir. I think we're talking about the Games Workshop stuff. I'm definitely not big enough. I don't even think they entertain you till you're something like about 10,000 subscribers. I've got quite some distance to go. But to be fair, I don't think I'm not that fussed about getting stuff kind of given for free from Games Workshop. I quite like the idea of getting it a little bit early to kind of give you a chance to get things built and make some videos for it. But there's just too many people get it early now that actually I'm quite happy paying for stuff myself. That way it's an honest opinion on what I think of stuff. It's kind of my own money that's kind of paid for it, or certainly my Patreons that's helped support it as well. It's their money as well. So it's all I can do is give my honest opinion on it when I've paid for something out of my own bank account, really. So getting stuff early isn't always everything it's cracked up to be. You have to paint to a deadline. You're forced into making videos. And I think sometimes you feel obliged to say something nice rather than be very honest about stuff. So it's kind of pros and cons, I guess. But one thing you'll always get on my channel is, regardless of whether I've been giving it a review or whether I've bought it myself, I'll always speak as I find. I'll always say exactly what I think. Kev saying GW has this same release schedule for about 15 years. It's just used to be the armies, and now it's a lot of standalone games and smaller bits. I think the thing from Games Workshop going back though was, if you were a Space Marine player, for example, you'd get a month or something where it was kind of, you get all the Space Marine stuff. Then next month it's Necrons or something, so at least you get a little bit of respite. However, at the minute, it just feels relentless. There is like the amount of there's a pre-order every weekend now. Silver's saying to Mark, not play Dreadball, not really into sports games. Probably have a couple of teams from Crazy Boxes. Yeah, I think there's a few people in that boat, mate. Flying Mammal saying, gaming, teaching life lessons. You're not wrong. I think that's probably going back to the comment about teaching kind of actions and consequences, wasn't it? Skullmunch saying, I disagree with some views on GW. I think they're smashing it at the moment. The problem is that us gamers want everything now and shiny. If we picked one game and stuck with it, it wouldn't be. You're probably very, very, very much right. You've probably hit the nail on the head. I think they are smashing it. I mean, the quality of the stuff they're putting out is fantastic. It just feels like I think people do. I think you're right. I think people do feel like they need to buy everything at once. But that said, when some things are kind of limited releases, so things like Adeptus Titanicus, when that kind of core box, or that kind of, was it called the Warlord box or something like that, those kind of things do force people into that kind of must get it now mentality, which is not always great. Great from a business point of view, you can't fault them for that, but sadly it means people end up having to kind of make a decision really quickly on it. Marcus, where are we going? No, we're going down. Marcus saying to Silver, okay, just trying to see if there's a fan base. Watched a few YouTube, thinking of jumping in. I think there's definitely a bit of a fan base for it, Mark. Certainly, can't remember when it is, but it's the WAFCon, which is Weight of Fire Con. The guys from the Weight of Fire YouTube channel are having a bit of a kind of weekend gaming, and they've got Dead Zone and Dreadball tournaments over that weekend as well. So I think there's definitely a crowd for it anyway. Skull Munch is saying it wouldn't be a problem, yeah. Throat Sore, interesting someone noting the educational value of gaming. Certainly true for me. Yeah, it's it's something. I mean, from when my kids were little, they used to go to bed reading codexes and stuff like that for 40k. And they kind of grew up reading books by reading their codex, and even now, like there's still an element of kind of teaching sort of strategy and tactics and trying to think one or two moves ahead. I find gaming really, really useful. Kids love it anyway. Kids love playing board games really when they're growing up, and I do find it it really is a good teaching tool. And Throat's also saying, yeah, they're 10 years old this year, I think. Yeah, I thought it was about 10 years old as well. Michael says, can you say hi to my wife, Manon? She doesn't believe you are live. I hope I pronounced that right, Michael. Good evening, Manon. You have a heart of gold for putting up with that fellow. I hope you're well, and I hope you're feeling okay after having the little one as well recently. So thank you for believing I'm live. Tony is saying you're not supposed to drink vodka from a pint glass. You are after the day I've had, mate. Unfortunately, it's just water, though. But yeah, I could do with a pint of vodka today, I think. It's been one of them days. Michael saying for the amount he already took, he's doing pretty well. You'll just see me kind of like just keel over, won't you? Just drift away. Frost and Fist is in, says, hey there, beautiful people. Good evening, Frost and Fists. I hope you're well. Mark is saying, what do you drink it from then? 2-pinter. It's just like a bucket of vodka. That's what you need, isn't it? Tony is saying, I think 2-player boxed starter sets really help for new people to the hobby. Seem to work well for Guild Ball and a few others. Guild Ball was one of the first that did it really well, I'll be honest. That kickoff starter set was excellent. It really was good. Silver's saying, hassle-free do 20% off each Halloween, plus extra free models and sweets. Sure, they'll do it again this year. I'll have to keep an eye out for that, mate. I wouldn't mind kind of a few like nice little miniatures to paint. I remember buying from Hassle Free. I bought a Hellboy miniature. Well, it wasn't Hellboy. You basically had to make a green stuff kind of file down horns for his head. But he was the guy with the trench coat on and the Fist of Doom anyway. And I also bought a Not Ash from Evil Dead as well. I've still got it. I think I found it the other day actually. I've still got it. Should paint it up at some point. Tony saying to Mark, he's got a large Viking drinking horn for special occasions. That I need to see, mate. We need a picture of that one. And Mark is very jealous of it. Silver saying, elite Penn State group from Hassle Free make awesome survivors for zombie games. They also have Scooby-Doo Mystery Gang if you want to laugh. I might pick something like that. Actually, I've got that the game that Anth from Revenant Tabletop Gaming sent me, which was the it's Ash's Last Day book. I might pick up a few bits of miniatures for that. That would be quite good. We've got Henry. I'm going to try and butcher. I will just call you Henry, sorry, because I don't want to butcher your surname. He says, greetings. Good evening, Henry. How are you? We've also got Rossin as well from AH Gaming. Says, hi, Andy. Hope you're well. Great show. Thank you very much, sir. Says, agree with love for Walking Dead for newbies, but Warlord have come good recently with Blood Red Skies and Strontium Dog. I've heard bits and pieces about Strontium Dog. I don't know. The miniatures look fantastic. I don't know much about the game itself. Is it something you've played yourself, Ross? And I did watch a video of Blood Red Skies, and I didn't realise that you kind of tip them back on their little stands and tilt them forward to see whether they're climbing or diving. I thought that was a really nice little mechanic that I'd not seen anywhere else. I really like the look of that. Glenn says he's going to have to go now. Enjoying the live stream. I'll try to catch future ones. Keep up the great content on your channel. Thank you very much, Glenn. Really appreciate you tuning in this evening, and thank you very much for the kind words. Throatsaw said he's live, but he's flat, and Armstrong didn't land on him. Yeah, well, this is all just fake green screen behind me as well. Woo. Just like the moon landings. Alex, not Alex, sorry. Nick is saying only GW shills get GW stuff early for free. Yeah, there's certainly a list of people that certainly get the GW stuff. So be it. Good luck to them. Good luck to them. Idiot Proof Daleks in says hello. Good evening, dude. Hope you're well. Tony saying to Mark, it doubles up as the first player marker in Blood Rage 2. That's the drinking horn we're talking about now, isn't it? Baz is saying he had a weird thing happen to me the other day. A lad walked past me in the street and was like, Mom, that's Underdog painting. It was so weird. It was like I was a celebrity. It's a really strange feeling when somebody does recognise you. It's happened to me a couple of times. So I was once in Games Workshop in the Metro Centre buying some bits and pieces, and the guy that was working there was kind of rabbiting away trying to sell me some stuff and things. And I got to the counter and I went to pay for my stuff, and he went, by the way, I really love your videos. And that was a little bit weird. That was the first time it had happened to me. And then it's happened a couple of times at when I've been to kind of UK Games Expo, when people, obviously I'm walking around with my t-shirt on as well, and I'm surrounded by hundreds of thousands of gamers. So there's bound to be somebody there who's potentially seen one of my videos at some point. So yeah, but it's still, it was weird. It was a strange feeling. Michael saying, not going to rant about the perfect Wild West Exodus, but they have the perfect starters. They do have a really good starter set, I'll be honest with that one, mate. The posse of choice and a rules and gubbins box in one buy. If the other takes a regular posse, you're started. Yeah, those starter boxes really are fantastic, actually, for Wild West Exodus. It's I think it's a game I need to give a second pass to be honest. I need to give it another go, because I did like it when I read it. But then they were changed. I think we've mentioned this a couple of times before. They changed quite a bit of the rules quite quickly. So I think I probably need to give that a second try, really, just to kind of give a second opinion on it. I am quite interested to see what they do with Dystopian Wars. It was a game I'd always kind of looked at and thought about when it was out originally, but just never got into it. My gaming group didn't play it. But I quite like the idea of maybe like a little naval combat game. So maybe that's something I might have a try at some point as well. Ian says, my wife's just walked past and said, hello, nice dude, to the screen. Does she know something I don't? No, mate, you know I'm a nice dude as well. That's not new news. If I remember right, is it your wife, Ian, that's from the Northeast? I can't remember if it's yours or Tony's. Forget now. I must admit, I've got a terrible memory for kind of people's names and stuff like that, and it's also hard when I don't have a face to put to a lot of names as well. So I think it was you, Ian. I think it was. Tony said the Scooby minis are cool to use in Betrayal House on the Hill. Oh, I've got Betrayal House on the Hill. I've not played that in forever. Michael says to Ian, that's got my attention now. Kyle says, night gents, early start tomorrow. Night, Kyle. Hope you're well, buddy. We'll have to arrange a game soon, mate, as well. It's long overdue. But thanks for tuning in, man. Ian says, Michael, and mine. Michael also says about Dystopian Wars, same here, mate. Love it, but doubting too much still. I don't know much about the game, I'll be honest. I've seen a few, I think it's a Battlehammer recently of just a player of the alpha rules. I don't have the miniatures yet, and I don't really want to start buying stuff for alpha rules. But I might, once it gets its full release, I might give it a try. Maybe pick up a starter box or something. Ian says, no, she's from down south like me. Can't remember. Oh, who was it? There's somebody whose wife's from the northeast. I forget who it is now. So sorry, mate. Apologies for that. I've never crossed paths with her in that case. Silver says, have to head off as it's up for 5 a.m. Carry on being creative. Thank you very much, Silver. I will carry on being creative. So I'm trying to get back onto the wagon of 3 videos a week now again. So I did 3 videos last week. I've got some planned for this week as well. So hopefully we're getting back into that kind of swing of things now, 3 videos a week. So thanks for coming in, mate. Henry is saying, I've played a few different miniatures games with my 11-year-old son, but find it hard to compete with video games. Yeah, my lads, so my older boys are 15 now as well, almost 16. And certainly with one of them, computer games is a massive big pull. So he plays a lot of League of Legends, he plays a lot of Fortnite with his friends, plays a number of different games. And he quite enjoyed playing Star Wars Destiny with me, which was the card and dice game, because I think it was kind of easy and quick, and he didn't have to kind of paint miniatures and all that kind of stuff. And he's quite enjoyed Kill Team as well, but I think that's because I've kind of put the effort in to get some miniatures ready to play. I think he's less involved, he's less interested in the hobby side of things, but he quite likes the idea of playing the game. So if the rules are relatively streamlined, and the games don't last kind of more than an hour, I think he's not too bad. So maybe with your younger guy, it's a game that has relatively short playtime, I think. So you're looking for something that probably plays in about 30 minutes. Maybe Dead Zone or something like that might not be a bad little shout. Play it on the coffee table kind of thing. Maybe something like Walking Dead if he's kind of into his kind of zombie type stuff. But those kind of games. This is what I'm thinking of. Tony, it was you, mate. I didn't realise you're from Hartlepool originally. I didn't realise that, mate. But I remember you saying that your missus is from the northeast. That's probably where I'm getting mixed up from. It was you in that case. Throatsaw says Pezapoo's been taking us through Brimstone recently. Odd Cthulhu Wild West dungeon crawler with great minis, loads of expansions, and it's scary. We were talking about scary stuff, weren't we? Was it last week or the week before about a Halloween episode that were. Yeah. Idiot Proof Dalek says, will you be doing a Vanguard unboxing? I will be doing Vanguard content, but I didn't go in on the Kickstarter, if I'm honest, and I was almost in, and then I decided to not do it, and it was purely because at the time when the Kickstarter went live, I just didn't think I was going to have anyone to play against. But since then, I've kind of got into my Kings of War stuff. So I will be getting some Vanguard stuff. So I'll definitely be doing some Vanguard content. Michael is saying, Henry, let the little one play Dark Souls or Bloodborne. He or she likes board and war games way more. Yeah, that's the other thing as well. I'm forgetting about it. You're seeing there's a big pull from computer games and stuff, but there's now a lot of computer games that are kind of turning into miniatures games. So even things like Star Wars, or we've now got games like Resident Evil 2 coming out later on this year as well. Horizon Zero Dawn is a Kickstarter at the minute with Steamforged Games. So there are more and more that are sort of based upon computer games now as well. So that's maybe an interesting angle that you could look at. Tony's saying Shadows of Brimstone's awesome. Lots of cards though. And Henry is saying Fortnite. And Idiot Brew Dalek says, doesn't Fortnite rot kids' brains? Tony is saying he's tried Fortnite, just don't get it. I've played a little bit of it. Of Fortnite. I guess I'm just not good at it. I find it interesting, but I can't believe the amount of time and money that people sink into a free game. So I play kind of on and off. I play a bit of League of Legends, which is a free game. I've never ever spent a penny on the game, and I can spend money on it, but it won't get me anything that I couldn't get for free otherwise. So I struggle to see how kids want to constantly spend money on Fortnite, which is essentially a free game. But hey, I'm the wrong target. I'm the wrong demographic, and I don't think Fortnite was created for 40-odd-year-old blokes. Tolmar is saying, has anybody tried Frostgrave? Does it have a starter set? Frostgrave, I don't think does have a starter set, because I'm not even sure it has specific miniatures, does it? I could be wrong on that one. There's definitely a rule book for it, and I think you can they might have a couple of like little war bands and stuff you can pick up, but I don't believe there's a starter set. Michael says, can't wait for Vanguard. Kieran's saying Vanguard, big smile on his face. Mark saying, saw the tease for Vanguard with some giant's legs. Looks really interesting. Yeah, it does. I'm really looking forward to seeing that rule book and stuff when it comes out, and seeing some of, especially that giant miniature, seeing that in the flesh. It looked fantastic in the kind of the renders I've seen online, but I've never seen it in the flesh. Really be interested to see what that's like. Henry saying, thanks for the advice. No bother, Henry. One thing you'll always get in here is many different opinions. You kind of weigh them all up and see which one works for you. But yeah, you get a good mix of people's opinions and some really friendly gamers in here. Steve is saying he plays Frostgrave. There's no starter set. Thanks, Steve. Just a rule book, and you use figures you have to start, and maybe get your mage and apprentice figure. Michael says about Horizon Zero Dawn, be sure to get your pledge in as soon as possible. Trust me, I know more. Not a lot, but I have some insiders as what's still to come. I'm not sure I'm going to go in for it, mate. I tell you what's really putting me off is the fact that it's not due to deliver until 2020. And that for me is just a hell of a long time to have my money kind of tied up waiting for a game. I don't mind kind of a year. I don't mind 18 months. But 2 years away, just like who knows what I'll be doing in 2 years. It's probably something I could maybe sell, even if I decide to go in for it. But I think for me, like I said, I've got plenty to be getting on with, and I'm not too worried about going in on another Kickstarter. I'm still waiting for 3 Kickstarters to deliver, so I'm kind of really picking and choosing on what I Kickstart at the moment. Idiot Proof is saying Frostgrave's got no starter, but it does have minis. Thank you. Frost and Fist is also saying it does have specific minis, but the beauty is that you can use anything. I thought I might have seen the odd box with their Frostgrave branding on it, but I wasn't sure because I don't think Osprey do the rule set, don't they? I don't think they do their own miniatures, do they? Somebody else must make miniatures for them, I think. Tolmart is saying thanks to everyone. And Tony is saying, Michael, I pledged already, not sure if I'll go all in on this one, though. Is there an all-in pledge? I thought there was just the one pledge level, I think. Unless they do like what they did with Resident Evil, where there was a lot of add-on bits and pieces later on as well. So, folks, we've kind of rambled on for just over an hour there. We've kind of talked around the subject. I don't think we've really kind of covered it in any specific detail, but it's certainly got the topic. It's got the chat flowing tonight, which is always what the point of the topic is. So if there's anything you want to really talk about specifically around kind of getting new people started in games, please feel free to drop that in the chat. If there's anything you really want to talk about, is there any particular games you're looking forward to? Is there any games that you've been a bit disappointed with? Is there any games that you thought would be good introductory games, but you've kind of played them and then changed your mind? Let me get a quick drink here. So Michael is saying you kind of have to. There's only 2 pledges, one being an early bird. Yeah, I think they did the same thing with Resident Evil as well, but then later on there was quite a lot of like add-on stuff, so you could get 3D scenery for the game, you could buy extra case files, there was optional miniatures. So I think the Kickstarter options will come later. Kieran is saying Frostgrave is a system that bucks the trend, kind of like a few Osprey games, like Gaslands and the Rampant series. You get good followings without the need for a starter set. Yeah, I think they're games for gamers. They're not the kind of thing that you get sort of first timers to kind of sort of pick up like on the off chance. I think not unless they're a game that you play quite heavily and then you could introduce it. But they're games that I think once people have maybe exhausted a bit of AOS or maybe exhausted a bit of 40k, they're the kind of games that you pick up as a bit of a sideline, I think, aren't they? Kieran also says there, though the Kickstarter options that are run with new miniatures releases from North Star do offer good value if you're on the pulse at the time. Is it North Star that do the Frostgrave miniatures, mate, is it? Tolmart says, I need friends. You're in the right place, Tolmart. Whereabouts are you based, mate? Are you in the UK? Are you somewhere else? I'm sure there's somebody never too far away to have a few games with you. Michael is saying, Kieran Morris, is that giant still 18 centimetres? Pretty certain it is, mate, isn't it? Did I read it's on a 70mm base, I think it was. 70mm square base. Idiot Proof says, I find it's really tricky to overcome brand loyalty, especially when people are already GW fans. That's one thing that is always quite difficult, actually, is that if you're in an area that is very heavily Games Workshop kind of players, it's quite difficult to try and introduce something different. I think that people have this mentality of that I've sunk so much money into Games Workshop that I need to keep playing it, regardless of what it is. It's almost like all that money will be lost if I decide to play something different. But I think that's a shame, really. I think it's almost a bad philosophy that you think it's almost you're throwing good money after bad. If you're not enjoying GW games and you want to give something else a try, just because you spent a lot of money on it isn't a reason to keep spending more. And that sometimes happens. Tony is saying, Ian is saying to Tolmart, we all need friends. You're right, mate. It makes the world a happier place if you've got a few friends around you. Tony said, I think so far everybody for Horizon Zero Dawn is over 300 quid. Ouch. Throatsaw says, for new people, play and play more, and set up little demo games next to what you're doing, and be prepared to stop your game for a new person who looks interested in what you're doing. Bit over the top, I guess. I would echo that. I mean, if you're wanting to get somebody interested in another game, the best way to do it is get that little 2-player starter set, or get a couple of little war bands or factions or whatever it is, get them together, and get them painted, have a nice little table set up, and just play a game. Get one other person to play it with you. Because if the game looks good, you will attract the attention of other people, and they'll come over and they'll have a look and they'll ask questions and they'll maybe want to try it or whatever it is. Broken Legion of Gamers. Nick is saying, I'll cover you guys with Vanguard Kickstarter unboxing videos. Looking forward to it, mate. Looking forward to it. Tolmar is saying he's in Bournemouth. Solent, folks. Do we have anybody around the Bournemouth area? I'm sure we must have some people. We've got a real mix of people here. I don't know if you're in my Facebook group, Tolmar, but if you're not, you should head across to Facebook, look for BlackJack Legacy Tabletop Gaming, and join the group. There's about 360 people in there, and they're kind of a real mix of people from all over the world as well. Most of the folks in here are already in that group, but it's certainly a good way to try and find other people in your local area as well. And most people in the group tend to like a mixture of different games as well. It's not like a group full of sort of 40k players, for example. Skullmunch says, looking forward to Malifaux 3rd edition. I love a bit of Malifaux. Malifaux is the first game that I really got into seriously and played quite a bit. I never played in 2nd edition, but I must admit I used to love Malifaux. I had a Colette Showgirls crew that I used to run, and really enjoyed it. Says hopefully they do a good starter set to get new people involved. It's a great skirmish minis game. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the 3rd edition is for. Is it just to kind of kickstart it on again, or did 2nd edition need a little bit of tweaking? Because it was almost. I think I kind of stopped playing around just before 2nd edition came out. Michael is saying, I want to talk about you giving Wild West Exodus another try. Oh, I did it. Just ran it again. Yeah, I think I'd definitely like to give it. I mean, I love the miniatures. The miniatures are fantastic. And I love the setting of that kind of sci-fi, steampunk, Wild West kind of theme. Like I say, it was just, I found the rules were a little bit clunky, but maybe it's one of them games, the more you play, the easier they become. So I should definitely give it another shot at some point. Bold and Nerdy is saying, my guess is Horizon is being pushed that far back to release close to a sequel, perhaps. Wouldn't surprise me, mate. It wouldn't surprise me. I think one of the things I learned when I spent time with River Horse, and when we were talking about the Hunger Games license, is just how many hoops they have to jump through to get the approvals from the licensor. So I think when they were doing the sculpts for the individual Hunger Games characters, they literally had to get sign off by the individual actors for their likeness. So it can take months and months and months and years in the Hunger Games instance. They had to get they've had to get everything approved by Suzanne Collins, who's the author of the book. They've had to obviously get a lot of stuff authorized by the film studio as well. So I would imagine it must be very similar for things based on computer games as well. Although I guess they haven't got to worry about the actors in that case. Kieran is saying, yeah, Giant is that big. Base was 75mm. Probably looking at a new base size for greater monsters in Kings of War 3rd edition. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that, mate. Michael is saying to Skullmunch, whatever happened to Malifaux, the other side? I almost went in on that Kickstarter because I really wanted to kind of to kind of get into that. It looked fantastic, but you're right. I've not heard another thing about it. It's almost kind of fell off a cliff. Another game that's kind of fell off a cliff as well is Conquest as well by Parabellum. I played it at UK Games Expo. I've not heard anything about it. I'm assuming it's kind of coming out, but these things have all gone really quiet. It's weird that. Tony is saying, suggestion: what games do you play that you think deserve more love? That's a fantastic suggestion. I think we might actually do that one. Why don't we have that for next week's Monday night topic? So next week's Monday night topic is what games do you play that you think need a bit more love? So have a think about that between now and next Monday. That's going to be our topic next week. So thanks for that, Tony. Bold Nerdy said, I would have been in, but I feel most of the add-ons are needed, and it added up to a lot. That's true for a lot of games these days. Almost the add-ons is where they kind of get you, because you do feel like you need to have them. It's almost like this kind of downloadable content, the DLC, isn't it? It's weird. Michael is saying Strontium Dog for sure to Tony. let me know, Michael, next Monday, mate, when we have the live chat, if you're in there, let me know a bit more about Strontium Dog. I know you really like it. I don't know much about it at all, so let's have a chat about it next Monday, mate. Mark says, maybe we can get a BlackJack Legacy group map with pins to state our areas. I'll have to have a look at that, mate, and see if we can do it. Maybe get like a Google map with little pins in and see if we can link it into the Facebook group. I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a note of that because I think that's a fantastic idea. Let me just write down here. Map, pins, BlackJack Legacy. Fantastic. Thanks for that, mate. Great suggestion. Tony is saying, Michael, this group has put Strontium Dog onto my radar. I enjoyed 2000 AD, preferred Strontium Dog to Judge Dredd. I was a big Judge Dredd fan, to be fair, when I was a kid. And I know Ross mentioned it earlier out in the chat as well, so I'll have to find out a bit more about it. So Michael is saying the minis are so wacky, it's amazing, from Strontium Dog. Flying Mammal says, Skullmunch got me into Malifaux by getting me to fall in love with Puppet Wars, and then said, oh, by the way, they aren't bringing any more out, so I have to play Malifaux. Nasty, that, isn't it? Skullmunch tricking your other half into playing that way. I never played Puppet Wars. When I used to play Malifaux, they were starting the Puppet Wars play testing, and there was a guy in my local group who got into the play testing for Puppet Wars, but we never ever played it. But we did used to play a lot of Malifaux. We used to go to a lot of tournaments and stuff as well back in the day then. And I do kind of miss it, really. That was a game that had a lot of synergies, but you had to play it quite a lot, I think, to understand them ones. Throat Sauce says, great idea. Game for more love. Love it, Tony. Yeah, that's it. Kieran saying, super idea for next week. So yeah, definitely next week's topic. Games that you play that you'd think deserve more love or more attention, or even games that you've kind of got on your radar that maybe other people don't really know about, and maybe you want to kind of get the word out about them. Brilliant idea for next week. Skullmunch is saying Malifaux 3rd is more just tweaking, I think. They're trying to get people to make more thematic crews and giving you options for multiple masters in a crew. I kind of maybe I'm thinking of henchmen because in 1st edition you just had masters, and then I think was it in like 1.5 edition rules henchmen started to come in, and that kind of gave you a few more options. Bold Nerdy saying, I went to a panel at Comic-Con about working with a license, and you're right, especially when working with a film, everyone has to sign off on it, and it can delay it a ton. Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I was chatting to Alessio, and he was telling me just the amount of stuff that he had to sign. So for this Hunger Games game, the game has been finished for quite some time. The delays have purely been about licensing and getting sign-offs and approvals. Bold Nerdy said, I think this is the main reason Mantic does comic book adaptations, is to keep it a bit more simple and less licensing to go through. I think, yeah, I think they had a relatively good experience with Image Comics, or with Skybound rather, for The Walking Dead. I think they had a really good experience with Dark Horse Comics around Hellboy, and I think that's kind of encouraged them to maybe do some more. Who knows what the next comic book could be? What comic books would you like to see as miniatures games? Because Mantic their kind of track record so far with their Walking Dead and certainly with Hellboy seem to be pretty good. Is there any comic books that you'd like to see made into games? And Tony says to BlackJack Legacy, I need to send a picture of my now complete and organized Judge Dredd collection. You definitely do, mate. I'm looking forward to seeing that with all of those spines organized. So we're getting down now into the last 5 minutes of the live stream. So thank you everybody for coming in tonight. It's been a really interesting chat. We've had quite a few people in tonight as well. It's interesting. There's been like 36 people in, I think, chatting tonight, which is always a nice little number. It's never too many people that I can't keep on top of the chat, but it's always enough to keep the chat going and keep it flowing. Again, I'd like to mention the guys and girls that are my Patreons, and they help support the channel and keep things going and allow me to buy kind of the bits and pieces that I need to keep everything ticking over, and allow me to kind of pay for hotel stays so I can go to Mantic and places like that. So thank you very much to all of those. If there's anybody interested in, I sell some t-shirts and things as well, so there'll be a link down in the description below. If anybody shops at Amazon, if you ever want to kind of go through the link on my description down below, it's an Amazon affiliate link. It means you pay exactly the same money that you would always pay to buy your Amazon stuff, but I get a little kind of a little commission for sending you through to Amazon, so it helps support the show as well. Where are we at with the last bits of the chat here as well? Michael is saying the Transformers miniatures game's waiting to be licensed too. I bet that's another one that's takes some time as well. Does anybody watch there's a few shows on Netflix about the toys that made us, and I was watching a documentary the other day about He-Man, and that the licensing for He-Man is unbelievable, about that, where that goes and stuff as well. Where are we? Bold and Nerdy, what an amazing show that would be. Would love to see a Punisher made into a miniatures game. I would love to see a Punisher game as well. Definitely love to see that. Michael says Mantic owns a pretty big part of Dark Horse for bringing out Hellboy. Expect to see more Dark Horse titles. So actually, speaking of Dark Horse titles, for anybody that did go in on the Hellboy Kickstarter, you'll have recently received you got a voucher to get the Seed of Destruction Hellboy comic book for free from Dark Horse Digital. But we also got, I think it was either a $10 or a $20 voucher as well to spend. What have you bought? What comic books have you spent your voucher on? Because I've got mine there, sitting there waiting to go to spend it on something, but I'm not quite sure where to spend it yet. So if you've got any Dark Horse comics that you'd recommend, let me know either in the chat here or drop me a note, and we'll see exactly. I'll maybe get some of those picked up. Kieran says proper Turtles skirmish game would be good to chase down. Mantic could use their Mars Attack City terrain as well. Yeah, kind of that Mars Attacks theme, it would fit really well with Turtles, wouldn't it? I think there's been a couple of Turtles games though, hasn't there? So I wonder whether that license is also a bit dodgy to get a hold of. Phil says, thanks for the show. You are welcome, Phil. It wouldn't be a great show without people like you sort of tuning in and joining in the chat as well. So thanks for that. Tolmort says, great show. Thank you, Tolmort. Really good chatting to you tonight. Hope to see you again in future live streams too. Mr. Spooky thinks is Hellblazer comics or Clive Barker's Books of Blood. Amazing. Hellblazer, I think, is Constantine, isn't it? That's the Constantine stories, I think. Oh, am I thinking? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hellblazer's the Constantine stories. But Clive Barker's Book of Blood would be excellent. All the Cenobites and stuff would be fantastic. Kieran says, yep, another great show. Andy, cheers. Thank you very much, Kieran. Really nice of you to come in tonight. I really appreciate that. Throatsaw says, thanks for your efforts. I have no idea how you keep the dialogue going. Skills. I think it just it helps that I well, to be honest, it's hard if you guys aren't chatting. You guys keep the chat going. I just ramble for an hour and a half. I don't think I could do it for like 2 or 3 hours like some of these people that stream all day. But yeah, I can keep it going for an hour and a half anyway. Tony is saying to Bold and Nerdy. Yes, yep, definitely a good shout. Flying Mammal says, thanks for the natter. Good night, everyone. Good night, Flying Mammal. Thanks again for tuning in. Thank you. Robert says, great chat as usual. Take care, everyone. Cheers, Robert. Skullmunch says, top bands. I love that, top bands. Looking forward to next week already. Yep, so don't forget, folks, next week, the chat is games that you think deserve a bit more love. Michael says, what about a G.I. Joe skirmisher? Interesting. Would it be a bit too close to kind of a... I suppose it depends if you went in with the full Cobra and everything else as well. That could be quite interesting, couldn't it? Kieran says, bought Witcher comics with a Dark Horse voucher and some Lobster Johnson. I quite fancy the Witcher comics, actually. I might have to have a look at those ones. I did download a few kind of... there's quite a few free ones on there to give you a taster, and I downloaded quite a few of the horror ones as well, but there was nothing that really grabbed me so far. Robert Marshall says, I always miss your shows. Sorry, Robert. I'm really sorry that you missed them. They're always there to watch back later on as well. Hopefully you'll... when it says keep an eye out for the next one, so what you should, if you on a Monday, you should come and have a look, and there's a little button you can tick that clicks a reminder, and it lets you know when the show goes live. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and it should tell you that there is a new video going live as well. But if you click on the little reminder button when the live shows are announced, that should help you as well. Mark says, I watch Critical Role and they have their own comics. Looking at those, I didn't know that, mate. I'll have to have a look at that. Throatsaw says, Vampire Hunter D, another good shout. Michael says, see ya. Mold lines as well. Tony says, top stuff as always, mate. Good night. Cheers, Tony. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the topic for next week as well. Robert says, I'll keep an eye out for the next one. Thank you, Robert. Steve is saying, great chat. See you soon. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for coming in. Michael says, had to. And Tolmod says, Hellblazer comics are awesome. They certainly are. And with that, we are dot on 10:30 here in the UK. So, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. And I will see you all. I'm just getting ready to press my right buttons now. I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks very much.